Some of the most recent conflicts between Black Americans and the police have garnered national attention, igniting protests and increasing tension. For those within the Black community, this experience is one that has been lived for centuries. A new documentary is looking at that complicated history. Let's take a look.
Imagine if you had an institution where it was almost impossible to be held accountable.
What happened with the police made me scared of them.
How these cops operate in this country has been America's dirty secret.
No mother should have to bury their child.
Now we stand here dealing with another murder of a young Black man.
ABC News Studios' Sound of the Police examines the fraught relationship between African Americans and the police. Co-directors Stanley Nelson and Valerie Scoon are here to discuss the film. Welcome to both of you. Thank you for doing this. Let's start by talking about the film and exactly how it examines the relationship.
Well, I think it examines the relationship by going in the present, and we follow the case of Amir Locke, who was murdered by the police, but also we flash back to the past, to slave catchers. The police began in 1704 in the Carolinas as slave catchers, and that's the beginning of the police. The police were present in lynchings. You see the police handcuffs on the hands and wrists of people being lynched. So I think one of the things that the film does that no other film has done is talk about the history of the police as it relates to the African American community.
Enslaved people were curtailed. Their movements were curtailed. They were seen as suspicious. There was a lot of fear of revolt at that time. And so when we look at that structure, and that system, we look to see, how much of that system remains with us today, how much of that, that bias towards Black people might remain with us today. And that's one of the things that the documentary was examining, was to sort of say, how did we get here? And what was the pre-existing relationship and how much of it is with us now?
At least 2 points, you reach out to members of the law enforcement community in the documentary. I would imagine that was extremely intentional, hard to tell this story without that voice.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we knew that we had to have law enforcement's voice, or else, people would say, well, wait, didn't you talk to the law enforcement officers? But also, they're great. I mean, from their perspective, they talk about patrolling the African-American community and looking at African-Americans every African-American as suspects, and that's what they came to do. We talked to a Black man who's now police chief, and he talks about how he was stopped as a kid and the anxiety that he feels. One of the things that I remember about the film is a quote, is that Black people, when they see those lights come on behind them and they're driving and they see the lights come on, they think, am I going to make it through this day? And that's something that we don't believe that white people feel in that same way. And, we want to ask why, and we want to ask, how can it change?
And that was my final question to you. How can that change? You lay out the history here very clearly, I think, for a lot of people who don't know it and who will learn some things for the first time, and then you bring it up to present day. In doing that, in laying out the very complex history, what do you want people to come away from this thinking? Is there hope coming out of this documentary? There
definitely is hope. I think that one of the things that's happened, with George Floyd killing and some of the other things that have happened, is there's a crack in the door. The door's open a little bit, and people of all races, colors, ages see that there's a problem. The films, shows you more of the problem and more of how the problem started. And that's the first step to recognizing that there's a problem. That's the first step to change.
Education. Yep. In the beginning, that's really the first step to anything, right?
Yeah.
Educate people on what it is, and then we talk about how we can change it.
Then people can sort of, hopefully, by sparking an interest in looking at the history, and communities can come together with law enforcement to work out solutions.
It's an important piece of work. Thank you both for coming in and talking about it. Stanley Nelson, Valerie Scoon. Sound of the Police begins streaming on August 11th on Hulu.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.